Welcome everyone. This is a new episode of Conversations with Alanki. This is my first episode after presidential election this year. Democracy is often said to mean ruled by the people. The presidential election this time in Sri Lanka was a testimony to the fact that Sri Lanka is in fact such a democracy. Now the people have spoken and they have chosen President Andra Kumara Dissanayake, and the general elections are coming up soon. So my next question is, what will law and order and governance be like under the NPP? Let's find out today, as I will be in conversation with attorney at law and member of the Executive Council of the NPP, Harshana Nanakara. Welcome.
Thank you.
So this is my second conversation with you. 4 months ago, I had a conversation, who will walk the talk.
Yep.
Fast forward 4 months, we have a new president and there are many questions I have. So the NPP has been very vocal about the fact that they will fight corruption and bring about greater accountability and transparency. So my first question is, let's start off with bribery and corruption in institutes. How will institutes be made more accountable? Because I think this is crucial if one is to change the system.
Absolutely. Right. First of all, I'm not trying to put a disclaimer even before I start.
Right.
But the expectations of the public are very high from us. And I would like them to keep those high expectations the way they are, because we are going to deliver. So as you know, our central theme was fighting corruption and bribery. And for that, we have a system which is a little dysfunctional, not necessarily because the system is bad, but because there's no political will to carry out. So now we have solved that problem. That means you have a government, partly, because the proper government will only be formed after the 14th of November. Right now we are running transition, so very limited changes are being done. So what I am saying now are the things that is going to take place mostly after the 14th of November when we form government. Because with 3 MPs, 3 ministries, it is just a caretaker government.
Indeed.
Right? So whatever I am saying is more applicable after the 14th of November. You are absolutely spot on. One of the main reasons for the downfall of this country, and the historic reason why people decided for the first time to bring in a president outside the ruling elite, is also our promise to fight bribery and corruption, for which we are hell-bent on doing. Now, in order to stop that, what is rule number 1? Is establishing rule of law. Rule of law is where there's due process and openness and systems in place to instill checks and balances. And who will engage in these checks and balances? The public. The public should have a channel of information for them whenever a government takes a decision. So if you take bribery and corruption at 2 levels, 1 before it happens, 1 after it happens. Now, nobody talks about preventing. Everybody's talk about punishing the wrongdoer. Yes, that is definitely, yes, punishing the wrongdoer. But you have to look at the prevention aspect also, right? So for an example, right, if you take a simple government institution, just an example, right? I'm not going to be a whatever, I'm just telling you what our thinking is. Let's take for an example, the RMV, where you have to go and get a license. How many times does a person have to go there? But if you introduce digital surfaces and minimize people interacting with the government officials, the opportunity for corruption and bribery gets minimized, because everything is online, right? Everything is online. Probably you have to go there once or twice. So one thing is digitalizing the government service as far as it's practical, and also being aware that there are people who cannot use digital surfaces still in this country. So that is one way of combating. Secondly, appointing integrity officers. That means their whole purpose will be to establish systems within a government department or an organization, measures where corruption can be minimized, and they will be directly linked to the CIABOC, Commission to Investigate Bribery and Corruption. So there are preventive measures, but the biggest preventive measure is the political will, and the people we appoint to the top chairs have to be people with integrity. So this is how we manage to part of the prevention operation. Secondly, sorry, you want to ask something?
No, I do agree with you. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved in state-owned enterprises.
Exactly.
And this actually makes it very inconvenient for the public. So like you said, digitalizing the system is it just one way of making these?
Just one way. That is only one way, because the first is the will of the person who leads the institution.
Right.
The will. And also there are other aspects. What about the outdated laws which prevents people from operating in certain ways? Working processes, they have to be updated, right? So all those things will be done. I mean, the working processes, uh, resource allocation, these are also things, because if you don't, I mean, there may be committed individuals, but if they don't have sufficient human and material resources to run it, then that's also a problem. So our government establishments have been running short of human and material resources. One might say, oh, there are so many government servants. True, very true, but not at the places where you need them. Not at the place where you need them. So complete shuffling of the system is necessary for prevention purposes. Now, once it's done, then of course the law will have to take charge. The CIABOC, I mean, Commission for Investigation, Bribery and Corruption, bribery or corruption, has to be put into place, right? So it has to be fought and it has to be timely prosecuted. If the offense is done, say, in 2010, you must at least finish the prosecution by 2011.
Indeed.
Not in 10 years' time.
Because justice delayed is justice denied.
Denied. And also the less heard cliche is justice hurried is justice buried. Sometimes administrative delays must be looked into. There are so many bottlenecks. But to prepare the charges, you need time, the Attorney General. To hear the case, judge needs time. Those are not delays. But there are so many bottlenecks. The research I have done shows a child abuse case typically would take between 6 to 10 years to conclude. Simple cases, only 3 witnesses. And by the time the child gives evidence, child has even forgotten what the case is, and the acquittal rate is very high.
And is possibly not even a child anymore.
Not at all. For most part, they're adults. And the problem with a child, when they become an adult, they're embarrassed about what happened in the past. And they tend to hide it when they're giving evidence. So therefore, that's why in this country, the rate of acquittals, people being released from criminal charges, are very high, about 90%. Only about less than 10% get convicted. So for fighting bribery or corruption or justice in general, let me round up the answer. One thing is prevention. The other thing is timely and effective prosecution. But we have to understand this is a system which has been stagnating or deteriorating for 75 years. And we are determined to put in place a system with the right kind of people. Can we do it in, like, we are not asking people to wait till 2048 for that, but I am hoping that they will give us a year, not to completely achieve what we promised, but at least the people will see the direction we are heading within a year. And then they will support us further.
What are the significant new reforms which will be implemented by the NPP that will actually help in changing the system? Anything significant that you want our audience to know about?
Well, now, firstly, as I said, after the general elections, when we get majority, hope we will get it, thereafter there'll be 25 ministries, right, with 25 deputies. We are hoping to bring in a new constitution and a complete government work ethic that hitherto did not exist. That work ethic has to be based on serving the public and being open, and the provision of information for the citizens. Because you see, if the government servants are living on the taxpayers' money, they owe information and explanations as to their decisions.
Right.
Now, even if you look at some of the appointments we made, you would see we did not make all the appointments. Some of them were made, some of them are just continuing because of this election duration. They are mainly focused. We have taken people from the relevant fields who are experienced in the area.
So they have the relevant expertise.
Knowledge and expertise. And also, none of the secretaries who were appointed are members of Anuruddha Sarnaika's family or Harshana's wife's family, nothing like that. We talk with the stakeholders of the relevant section, let's say energy, we talk with the energy teams and the relevant stakeholders, and then there's a committee who appoints one person. So therefore, even the appointments we are making are in complete good faith, thinking that is the right person for the job. We are in for meritocracy. That means the suitable person for the suitable job. And the only thing we look at is the integrity of the people that we are appointing. And if there's any doubt about the integrity, they won't be appointed, right? So in order to change the system, one thing is how the government conducts themselves. Secondly, the education aspect for the public. I mean, we can establish traffic lights to control. But if what the guys who are going to drive is going to look around that there are no cops, and then he goes even in the red light. So you can't system change by the government changing or the government bringing new policy. We must bring the people's will to cooperate with that change.
Right.
So that's what we are hoping to do over a period of time.
So you did talk now about appointments which have been given out to people who are right for the post. And I think this is very important because there are children of politicians who have been awarded special posts in the past by government, such as in embassies. And this is really unreasonable and it's not fair. And the decision taken by Minister Vijitha Hera to recall them is commendable, and this was often overlooked by previous governments. How do you see this?
Well, I see this as a part of the election promise we made.
Right.
As I said, while people are having high expectations, they want us to perform fast. Within 10 days, we are carrying out what we have said in our policy document.
Right.
We did say this that we are going to do, and we did it. However, one has to understand this much. There are certain things, according to law, the executive can do, the executive orders. And those are the things that now being attended to.
Right.
So which is nothing great to clap because this is what we promised.
Right.
And the policy document you give the public is the social contract you are having with the people. So we can't violate it. So we have done that. But there'll be certain changes, like such as parliamentary privileges for ex-presidents and etc., where the law has to change because there's a parliamentary act for those things. So some changes to be done, you need the laws to be enacted or changed, for which we have to wait till the 14th of November. This is why I keep on harping the fact, give us time till the 14th of November, right? And whatever can be done with executive orders can be done. The only thing is, even the president is subject to rule of law. Even he cannot act against the law or over it. And we are going to demonstrate to the country what a real ruler is, what a real government is. The real government, real rulers must be scared of the people. They must be scared of the law. And this country has never seen those rulers. So they are going to see them now. So whatever we are doing now, we'll do. And there'll be certain changes you need by law, which will be done after, especially with pensions and various other perks.
Will a new constitution be introduced?
Yes, that's one of our promises. It will take some time, but definitely within the 5-year term. That is because, see, there was a process of consultation that has been going on for a while. But all the previous governments did this consultation process only as a election tactic or delay tactic to giving us saying, oh, we are going to find a solution. So let's have a consultation. So there's so much of consultation being done. But again, there'll be a little more consultation necessary. If it's a party policy, we can change it by 5 people sitting around. But this is the constitution of the country. So there'll be a constitutional process and the constitution will not be amended. A new one will be brought in. And main features of that will be the abolition of the executive presidency, preventing crossovers from parties, recalling of MPs. That means nowadays when an MP or some person is appointed, they can go on for 5 years, whether they serve the constituency or not. But if we have a system of recall, they'll be more accountable. Yeah. And also we have to find a permanent solution through the constitutional means for the northern issue that we've been grappling with for a long time. So therefore, yes, I think Handun Netti was correct when he said, this is the last executive president that you will be voting for. Because next election, there won't be one.
And how long will this process take?
Very difficult to say, Alanki. Let me put it this way. Can't give a time period, but I will assure you this much. Within our 5-year term.
Right. All right.
That I'll assure you.
So there will be a new constitution. You won't amend the constitution, but there will be a new constitution within 5 years.
Look, it's been amended 21 times.
Right.
There's nothing much to save on it now.
So moving on to my next question now. Everyone spoke about numerous scams which took place, especially the infamous bond scam. Could you tell us about what is currently happening with the bond scam? What steps have been taken and what are the legal proceedings going to be like?
There are already few cases which are there in the bond scam, indictments being served. But the public outcry was that the real culprits were not taken. Only the other smallies are around. Someone like Arjuna Mahendra is not here.
Right.
And the fact that some of this money, when Arjuna Mahendra gave evidence, I believe, in the Commission of Inquiry, I cannot recall certainly, but I was there as a counsel for another party, that some of these monies were even given for the election campaign, right? So he said. So obviously he is one of the main persons as an accused for these cases who's not in this country. Ranil assured us that he's only going for a wedding and he will come back, but he never did. So the wedding must be quite a long one.
But are there steps that can be taken to
Yes,
bring him back?
yes. Now, I believe he's a Singaporean citizen. So there's a process of extradition. He's not a Sri Lankan citizen. So there's a process the AG will initiate. So I believe that you can get some of them as accused. I mean, there's a process, such as filing the case here, then through the Ministry of Justice, you speak to the Ministry of Justice in Singapore. There are official and diplomatic channels. The world is a small place now. Countries do cooperate as long as another country feels that that citizens' rights will not be violated here, right? All human rights are adhered to. They will be reciprocally doing so. But exactly as to what steps being taken, only the Attorney General will be able to tell us. But on a policy basis, government is keen on prosecuting the right offenders. Now, again, remember this much. We have no personal animosity against any of these individuals. Not the Rajapaksas, not the Vikramasinghes. But if they have violated the law, they must face the same consequences. Right. If Andra Disanayaka violates the law tomorrow, he has to face it too. So it's an effort to bring rule of law and not to penalize or punish anyone or just popular gimmicks. So I believe right now I don't know what the AG is doing, but the political will is there, and also now Ranil's immunity is not there anymore. When you have no immunity, some certain matters, if there's evidence, let the Attorney General independently consider. What we will do is this: we will make sure that there's no political interference with the judiciary. We will make sure there's no political interference with the Attorney General or the investigating authorities. We will truly establish professional independence for all those three arms to do their job right. We will only support for them to do their job right. Our government will never intervene for a particular outcome of a particular case. That will never be done.
But like you said, as provided there is sufficient evidence. Now, as a lawyer, I'd like to know your views. Now, most of these illegal activities are actually carried out, they're not carried out in a straightforward manner. They might try to hide evidence. What happens in such a situation where there is not sufficient evidence?
Well, strictly speaking, all good criminals tend to wipe their tracks off quite well. But the quality of a very good investigator, they will always read one or two breadcrumbs. When they leave the breadcrumbs, a good investigator with the right technology and the right commitment and will can trace. There's no criminal in the world who can hide 100%. Believe me, there's not. Provided we use new technology, trained individuals, international cooperation and support for forensic investigations. Everybody who wipe tracks will leave one or two behind for a good investigator to find.
Right.
So therefore, it can be done by the investigation. However, at the time of filing a case, what the prosecuting authority must satisfy themselves that there's a prima facie case. That means that can proceed to the court. But at the courthouse, it has to be proved beyond reasonable doubt. Right. That's a very high degree of evidence. While some may be covered, yes, true, not all can be covered. So which one is which, we have to wait and see. But we firmly believe in arming the investigating authorities, AG, and all authorities with the modern training they need, the equipment they need,
and the independence they need.
That they need the most.
Right.
I had this amazing government analyst. His name is M.A.J. Mendes. He's retired now, living in Moratuwa. Ma Ajaman, this everyone knows. He's the guru and the godfather of all science in this country. He was able to catch criminals at a time there were no lab testing. Just with a small, magnifying glass, he will match. So much so, the old generation of lawyers used to say, for God's sake, if you're going to do something like that, don't even leave an empty bullet there, that fellow will find it. He's so good at it. And one day he tells me, Harshana, people are blaming, saying we can't catch criminals. They say our police is not good. They say this is bad. But believe me, there are only 2 instances where our authorities can't catch a criminal. I said, like, what is it, sir? He says, when there has been no crime, or when the crime has been committed by the government. In these 2 instances, we can't catch them. But in all other instances, our people are capable of catching the criminals. So now, the government is not going to intervene. So I believe our investigating authorities has the ability, provided the political interference ceases.
So moving on to my next question, we have to talk about the Easter attacks when talking about fighting corruption and justice. Recently, I had a conversation with Minister Vijitha Herath. This was 4 months ago, where he actually said that the Easter attack was carried out by certain people as a plan to come to power. And he said that investigations so far reveal the masterminds behind it. In fact, he said that there were names and details about these people involved. And as soon as the NPP comes to power, they will appoint a presidential commission to carry out further investigations if required, and action will be taken within a short time against these masterminds. Now, we've been waiting for 5 years, and previous governments have not really found answers, or, like you said, possibly wouldn't have had the will to find answers. How soon can we expect the people, the masterminds of the Easter attack, to be brought before the law, and for the victims to get answers?
Now, thank you. Very good question. Because, this is one of those things that I went to see the Cardinal with my team, and we gave a written pledge to the Cardinal. Before we gave the written pledge, that we have the retired police collective, and there are those who investigated the incidents are also there. And you would remember the moment Gotabe came into power, he removed 17 CID officers. I think that's the first official business he did. They were reassigned. So we believe there has been some state intervention preventing the masterminds being tracked. But most of the investigations have been done, but there are a few loose ends left. And I believe a couple of days ago, you would have seen Vijay Hera explaining that we have appointed a presidential commission already, a kind of a division, to look into the matter again, because there are some certain evidence which are here and there. So they have to be gathered and collected. While I will not ask for 5 years, entire 5 years for it to be done,
Right.
because most of it has been done, within a year is the plan. But don't hold me to this year, because you know why? It's very unfair for politicians to give deadlines and timelines. Why? That is a professional job, right? Has to be done independently. As I told you, the politicians or the government's job is to provide the facilities and allow them to carry on their work in a proper independent manner. Believe me, in this country, honorable officers are more. But the thing is, they have not been given the chance. So what I'm saying is, while not fixing a timeline to it, it will be done. It will be done quite fast. But again, due process, rights of individuals. Now, for an example, you ask someone to come and give a statement. If he says, sorry, I can't come today because I'm sick, we can't tell the CID officers, go home, bring him in a white van. We have to give those things. So those things are there. While we are trying to do it, there'll be a section who's trying to derail the investigation. So putting everything into consideration, I would say very soon, I believe it should be taking place even now as we speak. But again, something we will not do is drama. Remember the Yapalna government? The drama. Drama is bad. Every individual has rights. Now we can say, oh, he's the mastermind who did it. But till the case is proven against him, there should be no prejudices against him. He should have an impartial trial. His rights must be protected. At the same time, the aspirations of the public also must be fulfilled, that you follow the case. If they're going to get acquitted, so be it. If they're going to be convicted, so be it. What people need is a closure to this event. That's what the people are asking for. And that we will definitely do. But I will refrain from putting a timeline.
Right.
It is not fair by the investigators or the Attorney General or the courthouses. But if the political will is there, believe me, it's going to be pretty fast. But when you say pretty fast, again, it may not be tomorrow. Huh?
Yeah, I do. I really do hope, on behalf of all Sri Lankans, that there would be justice for the victims of the Easter attack, because it was a tragic incident which should have never happened. And it could have been prevented as well, obviously. But I think people have been waiting for 5 years, and hopefully there will be answers soon.
I will not ask the people to wait for 5 years for an answer.
Sure.
I mean, either way, there has to be closure. Either we
Indeed.
prosecute and put them behind,
Right.
or simply say we don't have enough evidence. One of the two. People cannot be left in suspense.
Right.
Right? So it will be done. And may I also add, people are quite suspicious of a lot of things. For 75 years, what they heard was delaying strategies and tactics. Even when we say, oh, we appointed a committee, oh, we appointed a commission, they say, you all are also appointing commission and you want to delay it.
Right.
Quite naturally that they doubt us.
I mean, people have lost faith in commissions and committees because there seem to be no clear answers at the end of it.
And also, no action at the end of it.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is this: the Easter matter especially does not have to be investigated from the scratch. There is material, but there are some loose ends. and some of the people we need are not even in this country, they're elsewhere, right? So we have to initiate extradition proceedings. So for everything, there's a lawful legal process. But what if we try to do it? I mean, it's different. If it's like Cuba and China, where we came into power by armed rebellion, then from the following morning onwards, we can deliver promises. Why? Remove, kill, shoot, because that's how we came to power. But we came to power through democratic means. So therefore, we have to follow the established rules and procedures. But I'll promise you one thing: NPP will never hide behind rules and procedure. They will deliver. They will deliver. But again, I'm being very responsible, not giving timelines, because it cannot be done with timelines. But will it be done? It will be done. There'll be closure and justice.
That's great. Moving on to my next question. So the general election is coming up, and there are many people who have this question: who will be the next prime minister? So, what will the procedure be like in terms of selecting the next prime minister? What should our audience know?
Well, the one we have is quite good, isn't it?
She's amazing. But I mean, after general elections,
fine.
will there be? I mean, what will the procedure be like? Because
Right.
this is something many people.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Now, how does it happen? First, let me tell you, the constitutional provision is where
Right.
the president has to appoint the person who commands the confidence of the parliament as the prime minister. That's the
Right.
constitutional provision. So now let's say, not let's say, it will, that we are going to get government. We'll get far more than 113 and we get the government. Then the person who gets the confidence of the parliament will be the prime minister.
Right.
So if a NPP uh, government is in the parliament, like majority, we will not have to doubt about the popularity of Harini among us. So, but what I will not do as a matter of party discipline is to tell you now, I guarantee you 100% Harini will be our prime minister. I'm not going to say that. Why? Party discipline tells me wait for the party to decide. But if you ask me in practical terms, I see no reason why she should cease to be that. But who knows? What? Because remember, in our party, a minister portfolio, a prime minister or a minister or a secretary is not a kind of a jewel that you wear to show your status. It's the job of work that you describe. Now, if tomorrow I was told by the party, Harshin, you are best doing this. Now, my job is to do that because we are there for a common objective, a common dream, and a common fight. So, as a result of which, we will work collectively and in a common fashion, and we will not be uh, thrilled or disappointed with appointments or minister portfolios. But for the time being, no concrete decision has been taken. But for all intents and purposes, if you ask my vote, if I'm in the parliament, I'll vote for Harini.
I'm sure. All right. Before we move on to the final question, I'd like to talk about something which I've seen on social media. Now, there are already assumptions that the NPP might not take action against those who have allegations of corruption. And I saw this picture circulating on all platforms where NPP politicians were seen with other politicians from other political parties who have allegations of corruption. Is this a misconception by people?
I feel sorry for the people because you know why? They are so fearful because they've been betrayed so many times by these people and they don't see good when they see good. Now, let's put it this way, Alanki. Now, I'm seated here. For some reason, Ranil Wickremesinghe comes and sits there. Let's say we are having a private conversation.
Right.
I'm not going to get up and run. That will be offensive towards you.
So you're just being
I will
civil.
sit here, I'll sip a cup of tea with him. As you know, I will have nothing against him personally. So there are some pictures. Of course, as politicians, we will have to talk to the opposition politicians when we see them. We are not going to run. Who under this Anayaka shook hands with Namal Rajapaksa at the election nomination.
Right.
So that doesn't mean if there's a case against him, we are going to prevent it. So for those who are scared, let me put it this way. Just give us the 1 year we are asking for. Judge us by not what we said on stage. Judge us by how we run government and how we do things. And if you feel at any point that we are preventing justice being done, we are preventing someone being prosecuted because they have personal connections with us, by all means, call us and tell us that we are bad. But right now, all I'm asking is to give us a chance and give us some time. Right?
Give us some time. Give the NPP
some time to form government and run. It's only been 10 days. I mean, as I told you, we are not going to run. I mean, if Arjuna Mahendra is here, you think I'm going to run? I won't. I will talk to him, but that doesn't mean I'm going to protect him. We won't even protect a member of our own family if they have done wrong. We are a collective who came for a purpose. We gave a promise. We are going to deliver. And I'm just asking people to be a little patient with us, at least till we form government on the 14th of November. Thereafter, start criticizing us. Again, I want to tell you this much. It is the responsibility of a democratically elected leader and also the people. You control your government. If they're wrong, you call it. Because for the first time, you have appointed a government that will listen to the people, right? If the government is not doing right, you have all the rights to call us and tell we are wrong. And believe me, if we make a mistake, we will correct it. That's how we are. Even Andre himself said, we are not perfect, we will make mistakes. But making a mistake and being corrupt are two different things. If you make a
Right.
mistake, we will correct it. But corrupt, that we will never be.
All right. Moving on to my final question now. There are many women and girls who have been subject to abuse and harassment in Sri Lanka, and there's also a social stigma in going to seek help to the authorities. Will there be laws introduced by the NPP to further strengthen the rights of women and girls?
More than laws, you need the processes re-strengthened. I mean, we do have the Domestic Violence Act, right? And we can provide shelters for victims of domestic violence. But how many shelters are there? Only one or two. When we ask a woman, come out and complain against your abuser, how are we going to help them financially during that month or two or three, right? So I think the processes have to be established. Women in Need does a good job, but they need support of the government and other NGOs because every district need a shelter for battered women, right? And the provision of legal assistance is there, not enough, give them more. And financially empower the woman. This is how you do it, right? This is how you do it. So, two aspects. One thing is updating of laws, but I'm more concerned about the processes available and the attitudes. Now, when they go to the police station and say, I've been beaten up, sometimes these kind lady officers say, oh, it's between you and husband. Why can't you just discuss and sort it out?
Right.
Oh, the man and woman will only fight till the rice is cooked or something like that. These are the backward cultural
I mean, these are
attitudes.
societal norms that actually
Those
prevent.
norms
Yes.
cannot be changed with laws. They change with education
And awareness.
and awareness.
Sure.
That's what I meant by education. So it will be done. For children, there's a different set of problems altogether. For children, that is the poor women and children are suffering simply because of their identity. Now, National People's Power, we believe in gender equality and social inclusion. We don't want any community to be marginalized, either based on gender, age, or any other disability they may have. So we are going to create policies and update laws and get rid of the old laws that we don't need, like vagrants ordinance, for an example, in order to create an inclusive society. So we understand and we have recognized that women and children have been discriminated and marginalized at workplaces, education provisions, everything. So we understand that, but it cannot be just done with law. But if the government takes the initiative, if government provides the signal, this is how we are going to treat the women, others will follow.
Indeed. So setting an example.
Setting an example is number one, updating laws is another, providing resources, and also just getting people to understand that women are equal partners in the process. That's why we have said in our policy document, we want to make sure that 50% of political representation to be done by women. Right? They are equal partners in this process. We cannot differentiate. And NPP is one place who put their words into practice by appointing Harini Amarasuri as the Prime Minister. We could have put Vijay Hera. We didn't do that. I mean, politically, Mr. Vijay Herath is far more experienced than Harini. But we showed what we say. And we will continue to do so. Whenever the government sets an example, Alanki, people tend to follow, good or bad.
Indeed. All right. Thank you very much for this conversation. That was an in-depth conversation with Harshana Nanakara on what law and order will be like under an NPP-led government. So that was a member of the Executive Council of the NPP and attorney at law, Harshana Nanakara. So thank you once again for shedding light on what law and order will be like under an NPP-led government. So thank you everyone for watching. I'll be back with a new episode. If you like my content, share, subscribe, and comment. I always value your feedback. Thanks for watching. Back with a new episode soon. Until then, stay safe and take care.